I've invited several people to join me live, and so we're waiting for them to log in, and then we will get started at 10 o'clock. And I'm very much looking forward to this. And today I am running the whole thing by myself to get practice at doing that. So I'm also excited for that. It's all very, very good. Just adjusting my screen. Excellent. Welcome, Rick. Hello. I see that I have Mark with me. Trying to get a few other people in here this morning so we can have an interactive conversation about crowdfunding and the time that I and my partners think you should spend on crowdfunding. Time, you want to give yourself time, so that's what our topic is today. And while we're waiting for other people to log in, I'm going to share a couple items with you. First, if you look on the right side of your screen, I believe you should see showcase item. There's the money for something get funded webinars, and that is a workspace for people who view or participate in the webinar calls. And it really is designed for community to contribute to one another. We each bring a unique set of skill sets and unique experience, and the contribution that we each can be to one another is really extraordinary, and that's how I set up my courses, and that's how I wanted to set up these webinars and that workspace. So that's brand new. We just launched it this morning. I would love for you to go request membership. It's a private membership. It's not open willy-nilly to anyone. It really is designed for people who are interested in empowering their crowdfunding campaigns. I'm going to show you a second item as well. I'm also going to open the Q&A. So if you've got any questions or even comments, you can put them in the Q&A, and I also have a chat box open. So you should be able to reach me through the chat box as well. Okay, so today what I'm really interested in is having conversations with folks about time, and I can chat a little bit about the structure of time while people are getting logged in. And if you want to be logged in and you're not yet to the live broadcast, let me know, and I should be able to get you on. Alrighty, welcome, Gary. Okay, so today what I'm really interested in is having conversations with folks about time, and I can chat a little bit about the structure of time. Okay, so we have a problem. If you put the broadcast on speaker and you're not using headsets, it's going to cause a reverb effect, and we're not going to be able to hear clearly. So if you've got yourself on a speaker and your microphone is live, either mute your microphone or put on a headset so we're not getting that feedback. All right, excellent. So I'm going to test to see if folks can hear me. Gary, are you there?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes. Just so you know, you're not centered in the video. You're kind of off to the side.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
There. Well, I was logged in on your Money for Something on YouTube.
Ah, okay.
I mean, I could pick it up, but I wasn't actually logged in, and I didn't see any. Oh, all right. Then there's you on TV.
There we go. Awesome. So I'm imagining that other people are having difficulty logging in as well. So let's see.
Well, you just have to go to Google Plus. Join the Hangout.
So that page that was on the event page, is that what worked for you, Gary?
No, on my Google page.
Oh, right, where I invited you. Okay.
And yeah, the event
Right.
did not work.
Okay, got it. So if you do go to the event page and you click on the play button, you will at least be able to watch the video. You can also comment on that page, and I will see the comments. Maybe not right away, but during the call I will see the comments. So for now, I'm going to work with Gary. Where did Gary go? And we're just going to dive into today's conversation, which is around giving yourself plenty of time to put together, run, and fulfill on your campaign. There is the idea out there for some folks that you can just go in, put up your campaign, make it live, and then the hordes will come, the multitudes will come and visit your page and your campaign. But that's not the case, especially today. Especially today when we have so many platforms that have been released some niche platforms which are really powerful. And then, of course, we've got the Thousand Pound Gorilla Kickstarter and Indiegogo, and really a handful, about a dozen sites that um, started the whole crowdfunding craze. Uh, Part of what you need time to do is to build your crowd prior to launching your campaign. And you also want to craft the perfect campaign. So with the new workspace that we have here, you can rely on others to help you work through your pitches, your headlines, the content that you want to post on your campaign site. So it has the best possible impact that you're looking for. So Gary has been with us on every single broadcast, and he's taken his development of his project step by step. So it's great that he's here again with us today, because we'll take the next step, which is planning. So we're we're approaching crowdfunding as though it is a mini business that you're launching, and that includes strategy, which we've worked on in previous videos, and those will all be posted on the new community that we launched today. And also planning. And planning isn't always the easiest thing for a creative person. It certainly wasn't for me when I started out in the business world, and it took something for me to first train myself in how to strategize and plan, and then fulfill on the plan over time. And I'm still not a master at it. Continue to work on that. And I've developed tools to simplify parts of the process, so you can at least get your well, more than just your toe in the water. It's like get up to your waist in the water of planning, and start to see how you can create a structure and a context for success for your campaign. So, Gary,
Mhm.
so far in your process, what are you seeing around how much time you've put in so far, how much time you see you'll be putting in, and how you'll be spending that time? Or do you have any questions around it? And you're now on screen.
Get my brain caught up with all that. Well, basically, the actual time spent has been on the webinar and a little homework prior to that, downloading the workbook and going through the workbook prior to the first webinar. So I don't know, I'd say 6 to 8 hours so far.
Okay, and what have you accomplished in those 6 to 8 hours so far?
Gained some knowledge about
Okay.
crowdfunding. Oh, and well, yeah, actually created um, my log line. That's for a movie script. It's tagline. Created my tagline and my elevator pitch.
Great. Do you have those in front of you? Would you share them again?
Bring him up. Well, the tagline is changed. Basically, the tagline is confirming your suspicion that you're loved and that you love and that you care about your planet.
Wow, that has changed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Tell you the truth, I'm not sure. Oh, should be in my website.
So it's wonderful that you mentioned that, because one of the key elements to a campaign is having a landing page or a website, a home for you and your project. And of course, your website is that home for you. It is what everything else orbits around. So, are you having any luck?
Getting here. I'm sure it's on the welcome page.
Okay. So you've also spent quite a bit of time updating your website in preparation as well, haven't you?
Yeah. And then after we had our coaching call, it was a lot more to do.
Yes. So one of the topics that we covered in our last coaching call was around usability of Gary's site. So one of his fans had expressed some frustration around figuring out how to buy his books. And so we spent probably 30 minutes or so looking at his site and experiencing it from a customer perspective to see how it was or wasn't working. And out of that, we got clear that there were some things that could be simplified and made a little more obvious. So, um, so
There's my
Gary,
whole
have you
wall.
did you find
Yeah,
your tagline?
find it. So I write intimate, character-driven science fiction and fantasy stories designed to expand what's possible in your life. They are stories with action, adventure, mystery, violence, and romance. I do not write nice stories, more safe or quick reads. They may demand your emotional involvement, stir you up, sometimes make you uncomfortable. My novels are about personal evolution, where at the end, the characters are transformed, seeing their lives in new ways they could not have imagined at the beginning.
So that took some work to get to those two pieces, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. And this was like the third or fourth draft, and it's half the length of it where it began.
And have you tested the tagline and your description with your readers yet?
Yeah, with some people.
And
Yeah,
what
my
kind of
writers
feedback did you get?
they were moved.
So you can see that the time that you spent doing that is really going to make a difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
Totally. Because one of the tenets of crowdfunding is that people there's a transparency element that is inherent in the crowdfunding world. And transparency is absolutely critical. And a key component of transparency is your passion and being able to communicate clearly what that passion is and what you're sharing with people. So the work that you put into those overarching ideas, the strategy, your vision, your tagline, those elements that immediately convey emotion and passion to the listener or the reader is critical with crowdfunding, because without that, people are not going to be able to establish a relationship with you. And crowdfunding is all about relationship, even though you are it's almost like a one-sided communication at first. The reality is you are creating relationships with people and engaging them in conversations, engaging them in thought, engaging them in being able to support you financially in your endeavors is really critical. And once you have a fan on crowdfunding, they're your fan for life as long as you remain transparent, as long as you remain honest. So if you've made a mistake at some point along the way, best thing to do is fess up immediately. Now, how to avoid mistakes is by doing a lot of the work ahead of time. So what is the work and why does it take time? So before you even launch your campaign and while you're building it, um, there are several components that you want in place before you actually launch your campaign. We've covered this in previous broadcasts, but I'm going to go over it again because this is where the time element is perhaps most critical, which is building the background, the foundation, and the communications that you're going to deliver during your campaign. So we recommend, and I'm going to switch over quickly to a showcase because you've been looking at Gary all of this time. There is a new drive that I've just set up. So when you register and become a member of the Money for Something Get Funded webinar community, you have access to a couple of documents. And let me share my screen so you can see those. So the first two components, are the Money for Something workbook, which is free. It's something I offer everyone. It was the original workbook that I developed for the Oregon Technology Business Center's presentations and workshops that I led there in crowdfunding. And it gives you the skeletal structure of a campaign. Every element that you need to address is addressed in the workbook. And then the second piece that I'm giving to you today, as of today, is the 3-month strategy and planning sheet. And I will open that one up because I want you to see that. See, that's the workbook. And here's the worksheet. Gary, can you see the worksheet on your monitor?
Not yet.
Okay, hold on. I will make sure you can see it. Once I get it up, what you're going to see is it's what I think of as a simplified version. Here we go. Simplified version of a marketing plan, or it could be a business plan. You can even use this. You can use this to structure anything over time that's necessary to run any kind of project. So now, are you seeing the spreadsheet?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So on the spreadsheet, the minimum I recommend that you take to develop, run, and follow up your campaign is 3 months. That's the minimum. My further recommendation is, especially if it's the first time you've done a crowdfunding campaign, is that you give yourself at least 3 months to do the pre-launch work. So each of those columns, as you look at the worksheet, each of those columns would, in this conversation, represent a month. So this would be, your leftmost column would be February, March, April, if you intend to launch a campaign in May. And the overarching perspective is what is the key message and the key activity that you want people to participate in. So each month will then build against that. And part of this, so like in your first column, your first month, you're doing a lot of research or additional research, because some of you have done a lot of research in terms of platforms that are available to you out there, in terms of groups where your fan base hangs out, all of that. And you want to use this very first column, this first month, as a way of setting your data foundation. This is going to be the launching pad for creating new relationships. And part of those relationships are with media personalities, people who have blogs that are very popular in whatever field that you're in, or perhaps newspapers, magazines, national or local. You're going to look and see what is it that is appropriate for you. So you populate that first month with all that data, and you put in your plan, like who do you want to contact. So you may focus on 2 key bloggers, and that then will go into the second month. What actions are you going to take in each of those areas that will move the communication vehicle forward? So if you have bloggers who are on your side, they're excited about what you're doing, you're direct about requesting that they support you and participate with you in developing your campaign, you've got a much better opportunity of having a rabid fan base show up the moment you launch your campaign, rather than trying to do it in the middle of your campaign. You do not want to be building relationships in the middle of a campaign. It's really critical that you do that prior. And so a big part of the pre-planning is setting up those relationships with bloggers and editors and journalists, so you get what you're looking for. I'm going to stop sharing and go back to the video. So Gary, what do you see? Just, we didn't cover everything that goes in that sheet, but we did cover one key element. What do you see in terms of time commitment? Like 60 days, would that be enough for you to develop those relationships, given everything else that you do in your life?
No, I would say not.
Okay. So what do you think would be a more appropriate time frame for you?
Well, like 3 to 4 months.
Okay, great.
Well, 4 months then, being a contractor and knowing that you got to double your estimate. So,
Yeah, so one of the things that you want to be very cognizant of is you probably have a super busy life. You have family, you have commitments to your kids, holidays come and go, you get sick, you've got your day job. If this is your day job, you may have other clients that you need to work with, etc. So you want to be realistic in terms of the time that you can commit to any one of these aspects of your campaign. And creating relationships, I think Gary is spot on. Creating relationships can take time and generally does take time, um, especially when part of what is important for you to do is to understand what their need is. So if you're approaching a blogger, what what does your blogger really want to give his or her fans? And how can you provide that while they're supporting you in what you're doing? So it takes something. It takes some research. It takes conversations, and it takes being vulnerable and courageous, because sometimes the scariest thing to do is to reach out, especially to the media, when it comes to requesting support around something that you are passionate about, that you love. Um, Anything there for you in what I just said, Gary?
I was just thinking if I actually have a number of bloggers and people that I'm already creating a relationship with that I hadn't thought about as being
Awesome.
related to crowdfunding.
That's really, really great. So another aspect of pre-planning before you launch is to set up your own marketing messages. So this would be a series of blog posts. In Gary's case, it's definitely blog posts on his website. And then, since that is the cornerstone of his marketing campaign, um, that's where I would recommend that Gary starts, is in creating a series of blog posts that are building a story that he'll tell over the 30 days, or however many days. 30 days is his optimum for the campaign. And you're also telling stories before you launch your campaign. So before he launches, say the month before, he's also going to have blog posts related to the upcoming campaign, um, that are addressing not just his needs, but more so the needs of his potential readers. And it could be that he reads passages from some of his books. It could be that he engages in conversations, maybe even on Google Hangouts like this, engages in conversations with some of the people who are fans of his work already. He already has a body of people who love his work and can hardly wait for the next book to come out. So those are some things that he could begin to build and use and create the month prior, those 30 days prior to launch. So the conversation is alive and it's growing and it's vibrant. So by the time the campaign launches, people are prepped and ready to go. They are hungry to support Gary in succeeding as this amazing author that he is. Um, so there's that piece. Um, and you can, again, you can use a second version of that strategy sheet, the three-column sheet, to help you create your campaign. So Gary, again, I'm recommending that you start with your blog posts and that you put a series like 60 days of posts. Not every single day you're not posting. I'm just saying a 60-day time period where you're creating your posts. And you want to tell a story over those 60 days. And you want to include people who are already massively, massively in love with your work. And that may seem overstated to those of you who are watching this, but believe me, once you read Gary's books, you become a fan for life. He's really an incredible writer. So there's that piece. And then from there, you can distill, well, what social media platforms you should already have decided what you're using. So it could be Google Plus, it could be Facebook, it could be LinkedIn. You want to limit the number of social media outlets and then craft your posts related to that. So as you can hear, this takes time, right? And you want to give yourself that time because it feels so much better to be set up and run a project and know that you are on a track for success, because then when you're in the middle of your campaign, you've written all this copy, it's ready to go. What you're doing during those 30 days is you're responding to people. You're making changes that you're seeing would really benefit the people who are responding to you and communicating with you. You also have an opportunity to, during those 30 days, to maybe be on TV talk shows or radio shows. And you've already set up those relationships before because you gave yourself the time to do that, such that they're inviting you then on their shows to talk about what you're doing and what you're up to, which is really, really amazing when that happens. So the time that you spend during those 30 days of your campaign, you want them to be fun for you. And if the prep work isn't done, I promise you the 30 days will not be fun. You will not enjoy it. It gets so overwhelming when you're trying to create, uh, especially marketing pieces, while you're also trying to manage a fundraising campaign. It's it's crazy making. Um, the other thing that I would recommend that you do during the lead up time, Gary, for this and for anyone else watching, intent on doing a crowdfunding campaign is um, create a team. So you want to look around you. And for Gary, this may be some of those rabid fans would probably love to be on a team with him. There are certain family, I don't recommend that you go wholesale to all your family. There are probably key people in your family who have always supported you and who see clearly what you offer and maybe areas where they can supplement skill sets that you don't have. You can also look in your coworker community or your business community and identify people there who have other skill sets and interest who would like to be on the team with you. A chunk of your campaigning, Gary, is going to be phone calls, follow ups. And if you have a team that is helping you with some of those follow ups, or maybe um, they're posting updates on the crowdfunding site, or they're posting updates via Twitter or Facebook on your behalf, that's really going to ease you up to take on more critical conversations, uh, critical and fun during your campaigning. So again, it's really committing to yourself and allowing yourself time to do this in a way that is in integrity with what you're up to, who you are, and how you really want to be presenting yourself in the world. And then finally, and I'll get back to Gary in a moment, the final piece you want to plan for is that after the campaign, after you're successful, after you've reached or exceeded your goals, after each of your pledge levels has maxed out or gone way beyond what you expected. And we'll talk about pledge items in another webinar and putting ceilings and stuff on that. But once you have succeeded in your campaign, then comes another layer of critical and could be intense work if you don't do pre-planning. So that's fulfilling on the pledge items. It's fulfilling on the project as you promised. It's making follow-up thank yous to the media folk who have supported you, your team. It's a time of gratitude and fulfillment. And the more thought that you put into what that looks like, how you want to thank your team, how you want to thank the media, what you've learned about them that would really speak to their heart in terms of gratitude. That's what's happening with the follow-up. So you want to stay on target, deliver things on time. If you don't deliver on time, be prepared to talk about what the delay is all about. Again, transparency is critical. And just keep people apprised of what's happening. So I said a whole bunch, Gary. I'm going to put you on the spot again. What are some of the takeaways for you?
Well, I remember all the other stuff about, pre-planning. And I guess I see myself giving myself more time to actually have it all complete and done. And then a new part of it, is the pre-planning the post-campaign and having that all complete. And even planning, like you were saying, being successful, like wildly successful. So then what do we do if it expands beyond what I planned it? I can plan that too.
Okay. So how much time, just, sitting here again in the hot seat, how much time do you think now your pre-planning is going to take?
Well, from this time to the time I launch, I would say 5 months.
Okay. And in that time frame, um, do you have like a hierarchy of what you want to accomplish in that time frame?
Yeah, the first month of actually organizing my business itself
Okay.
more. Yeah. And then in the next month, actually start the planning on the campaign. Spending 4 months getting that organized. Which,
Awesome.
the nice thing about my campaign is it meshes perfectly in with, expanding the business, expanding the fan base, because that's what it's all about. But it
Okay.
won't, what do you call it? It won't be a distraction from my writing career, preparing for a campaign. It is the writing career.
Awesome. And when do you see, do you have a by when in mind that you want your team in place?
No. And, well, I would say in a month would be a really good idea.
And is that doable for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, folks, here's the next critical piece. And this is the one that I resist, and I imagine many, many people resist. So you've got an idea now, Gary, of some of the things that you need to do in the next 30 days. Put them in your calendar. Make it part of what you are committed to doing during the next 30 days by committing it to your calendar and having conversations. Start or continue or expand, because you've been talking to a lot of people. Now you can start making requests. And what do you see? What kind of requests do you see that you can make in your community?
Well, I got the writers group and my mastermind group. So both of those is create some initial planning. So this is what I'm going to do. These the tasks I'm going to ask people to do. Which one of these would appeal to you doing for me?
Excellent. And by when will you do that?
Uh, for the mastermind group, I'll have that by the next mastermind group meeting,
When is
which
that?
uh, Friday after next.
Okay, excellent.
I have to, anyway, have a
Cool.
logistical uh, conflict in the webinar goes an hour into the mastermind meeting on Friday.
Yes. Perhaps you can make a request that they move the webinar. I mean, not the
The
webinar,
meeting?
because it'll be declined. Um, yeah, the meeting.
That I
So
could. That's
this
an unreasonable request.
it's and that leads back to, the point when I said be vulnerable, be courageous. Like, this is the time to get over yourself, folks. Make requests. Allow yourself to make mistakes in making those requests, because we don't learn until we make mistakes. It's really interesting, like in the practical sense of the world. So make requests, be uncomfortable, whatever it takes. Just sum up your courage and take on those conversations. It will make a difference. It'll make a difference not just for you, it'll make a difference for a community that has been dying to help you ever since they met you. I promise you, when people are attracted to folks who are up to big stuff in the world, they are waiting to help. What do you think about that, Mr. Moore?
That's been demonstrated in the past, and I have
There's
resisted.
some truth ringing in that statement,
And
huh?
actually ask people, and like, yes, of course I would.
Okay, awesome. Let's see. Now I'm showing there's a tool called Showcase. Are you seeing showcased items on your stream there at all?
No.
Okay, maybe if you run your cursor over to the left-hand
Oh,
side, and
there we
this is
go.
for everybody, not just Gary, it may open a control panel. I'll see if my tech guy, who is so wonderfully, he actually may be in another call right now, has supported me and allowed me to do this by myself today, which is so exciting but nerve-wracking. um, there should be a way for you to see the items that I'd like you to be able to take a look at. Yes, no, maybe?
What am I looking
It's
at?
called Showcase. You may see yellow tags somewhere at the bottom of your screen, at the
There, I got it.
side. So now can you
Yeah.
see items?
Yep.
Okay, great. So and it's not just you, Gary, but anyone else watching this, uh, when when you join the Money for Something Get Funded webinar participants community, that's where you're going to be able to access the workbook and the 3-month planning page. Now, these are PDFs. They should work on any platform. I should put myself up here. They should work on any platform, and they're fillable, so you can actually type into the documents your thoughts, or you can print it off and do it by hand. Either way works. Um, so there's that piece on that side as well. There is, let's see, there's an announcement on the intensive that starts this Friday. So Gary is one of half a dozen participants in the upcoming intensive that starts this Friday. You can register via that link. So again, if you want to see the showcase with all of these links to these different sites and these different resources, you click on the yellow, kind of the goldenrod tags like Gary did, so you can see all of these different items. But you can click on that, which is the Money for Something crowdfunding intensive, and that will take you to the page on the moneyforsomething.com website that tells you about the intensive, and you can register there. Payments you can make 2 payments or a single payment. Um, it is an intensive. That means we spent all day Friday. There's a morning session, lunch break, about an hour and a half, and the evening session. We start at 9:30, ended at 5, for five Fridays in a row. There's homework during the week, and then a check-in call midweek, somewhere in the middle. Probably at a Tuesday, I imagine, is when we'll do it. A Monday or a Tuesday will be the check-in call. And there is a private Google community that I've set up that no one can access except for the participants, because when you participate in our intensive, you do sign a non-disclosure because people are working on sensitive projects, and it's only the only people who can access that particular community are those people in your class. And again, it's set up so you can be posting your homework. People can give you feedback on the homework. It's a much more vibrant back and forth, I've noticed, in the intensive, because people really are committed to crafting an amazing campaign, and they are committed to having that campaign be successful. And having the perspective of all these other people who bring other skill sets to the game for you, bring other viewpoints, will help you then flesh out and improve your campaign and your pitch and what you're doing to market it. It's truly an amazing dynamic community when you're in that course. So that starts this Friday. The link is in the showcase. And then there's a couple of resources on the Money for Something site, especially if you really are just doing these webinars on the first and third Monday of every month. Download the workbook and use the resources on the Money for Something site to put together your own campaign over time. You, of course, will not get the support that you get in the intensive and the follow-up coaching calls, but you do get the support of the community via the webinar community that was set up today. So one of those resources is the big list of crowdfunding sites. It will soon be updated again. There's so many sites out there, but we highlight what we have found to carry the most weight, either in a niche or within the different categories of crowdfunding that there are, because there's pledge-based crowdfunding, there's um, um, equity crowdfunding, there is loan crowdfunding, debt crowdfunding, and then there's permutations uh, of different crowdfunding models, like Patreon, uh, which is a way of consistently monthly being supported by the community to create your art, create your webcast, etc. It's really amazing. So it's a subscription model. But the big list of crowdfunding sites is where you can go to start your research on where it will be best for you to do your campaign. And then finally, we've got a sign up form, newsletter database form that I would love for you to fill out to be part of the newsletter community. We're going to start sending out, it's just one newsletter a month. There may be one or two updates that come out, but they'll just be short updates. The newsletter will be a little more meaty. And it will let you know every month what the webinars are, etc. And then there may be new resources available to you, things that you can download and use to create your campaign or manage your campaign, resources of companies that you can work with. Hi, Cynthia. Excellent to have you here. I don't know if your microphone's working, but it's really good to see you here. Let's see. We've got 13 minutes. So, Cynthia, shall we test your microphone? Are you there? I can see you logged in, but I can't hear you. All right. Got to work with Cynthia because I'd like her to be on the webinars frequently as well. She's developing a couple of nonprofit campaigns, and I think that's going to be very, very interesting to people because each, an artist like Gary has a different focus than Cynthia, who is developing crowdfunding campaigns for nonprofits. So the more guests that we have in a variety of ventures, the more we can impact communities using crowdfunding to forward their initiatives in the world. So Gary, I'm going to go back to you for a moment. Is there any of all the resources that are in the showcase, are there any that strike you as something you'll be using or that you'll find helpful?
Oh yeah, the list of sites.
For sure.
And I've already got, doing the intensive and the webinars. And I sign
Yeah,
up for the news updates. And that's it.
cool. You're the
So,
best client in the world. Awesome.
it's not even my intention to do it.
I know. You just want to write. Well, we have just 11 minutes, so I'm going to go to Q&A and see if anybody has posted there any questions. It doesn't look like anybody has. So I'm curious what else you'd like to talk about then, Gary. Because I think we've covered time. Like, give yourself time. It's pretty clear. It takes time to do a good job. Once you do the first one, any subsequent crowdfunding campaign is going to be a breeze after the first one, as long as you put the structures in place. So what I love about the intensive that you're about to go into, Gary, is my promise is if you follow the structure of the course and you do it as designed, um, I'm guaranteeing that you will succeed. And I'm putting my money where my mouth is. If you feel that you don't get your money's worth, you get the full amount refunded. That's how important I think having a structure, having coaching, having a community around you is, and paying attention to those details is critical as well. So I don't know if that's intimidating to you or not, Mr. Moore.
Yeah, not really. Just thoughts in the past come up about not doing landmark courses as designed.
Yeah.
Like
The
having the
past was.
homework and not doing the homework, and well, somehow I'll get by.
So my hope and my intention is that that participants like Cynthia and Gary who are in the intensive will do the homework as designed, because you're investing your time. This is your dream. I know it can be scary or daunting sometimes. It certainly is for me. Taking on and doing these webinars, for example, it can be daunting, but it to me, it's like the way that I can reach as many people as possible with this information and this news, and work with people directly to help them achieve their goals, their funding goals through this alternative, amazing platform. Um, so, do you have any other questions from previous sessions or?
an acknowledgement. Technology is working way better this time.
Thank you. That was for me because last time we had a lot of glitches in our webinar. So I'm really, really happy that this one is landing a little better. It's a lot more fun when I can interact with people too. Yeah, I like to have fun too. So, Cynthia, I don't know if you can access the Q&A. If you can see a little turquoise Q&A box, you can click on that and it'll open up a place where you can put in your questions or comments. There's also a chat box, but I think if you use the Q&A, that would be better because that'll stay with the video on YouTube, and then people will have access to the questions. So let's talk a little bit about the webinars that are coming up. And again, this is one of those scary points that I have just jumped off and said, this is it. This is how I want to do this and how I want to contribute to the world. So the first and third Wednesday of every month of this calendar year, I have scheduled these free webinars. My desire is to build the number of participants. Now we have a maximum of 10 who can be live on these broadcasts. I want that maxed out every single time. I want to give this information away so people are empowered and they're able to do things that previously, before crowdfunding and other crowdsourcing opportunities existed, weren't available to you. I mean, going to a bank as an artist is a painful thing, especially when you just don't have the experience of getting a business loan from a bank. Plus, what a bank loans is way more than most of us need. And crowdfunding gives us an opportunity. If you need $2,000 just to put your project together and get it in the gallery, it's way nicer to just get $2,000 from a fan base who you are committed to delivering an amazing product to get your project going than it is to go to a bank and get a $50,000 loan that you just don't need. So please share the information, share the webinars, invite people in your community to participate. I'm starting a new channel just for Money for Something, reorganizing the entire experience so people can go directly to Money for Something on YouTube. It's Money for Something Crowdfunding. If you look that up, that's the channel on YouTube. There's Money for Something Crowdfunding here on Google+. And then we're setting up the private communities. So you guys have a workspace that is unique to what you're up to, that actually delivers content and resources, training, tools, tactics, and a community who will support you in being successful in the campaign. We're down to our last 5 minutes. There's been some new developments in the crowdfunding arena. Fundable just purchased a couple of platforms. Okay, I did get a message from Cynthia, and I'm going to address that in just a moment. So I wanted to talk about, I got distracted. Who did I say?
Cynthia.
No. Before Cynthia, I was talking about a platform.
Oh, for Get Funded. Fundable.
So there's been a lot of talk in my community with my partners about crowdfunding 2.0. What does that look like? Since I and many others who are in this field are interested in people succeeding, education, of course, is a big piece of it, which is something that I am absolutely dedicated to. Training, providing tools, etc. There's a whole bunch of other aspects around crowdfunding that really haven't been addressed yet. And what they've done at Fundable is they have purchased several other organizations that do some of those other pieces like business planning. Um, so it check out what Fundable's doing. It's fundable.com, fundable.com, and see what they're up to and see how it's beginning to develop. And who knows, there may be some other surprises coming down the pike right now. Okay, Cynthia, in terms of your question, the first step with your project, the first step is to make sure that in your calendar you have the classrooms for the intensive on your calendar. So that's starting this Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and the 4 Fridays following. And then there's homework during the month. Um, and we should talk about your computer system because you do need to be able to um, speak during those sessions. It'll be much easier and much faster than having to type into the group chat or the Q&A. So you and I will talk about that before Friday. Great. Or find yourself a place like Concordia to do that. You want to be able to speak out loud. So if you need a private room or something, do that as well. And get a headset. We really want people to be able to hear one another without any feedback. So headsets help us do that just beautifully. Okay, awesome. I'm also going to be sending the non-disclosure out to participants. So that's for Cynthia and Gary and the other people who may be listening out there who are going to be in the intensive. So I need that NDA back before you can participate on Friday morning. That's going to go out today. Also, there will be another email that contains the requirements. So you need to be able to do Google Hangouts, etc. So those kind of technical requirements, and then materials that you should have on hand as we start the session on Friday morning. I think that's pretty much it for now. This was great. I love that there's 4 people on it. Well, there's 3 people on here with me, so 4 altogether. And I hope to get the video out. I will get the video out by midnight tonight, hopefully sooner than that. And we'll start to populate the new world of money for something on Google and YouTube. I'm very excited about that, and I'm sure I'll make mistakes, and you guys are going to help me learn. So, is there anything else that you want to say, Gary? And Cynthia says she is excited. That's great. Gary, any last words for you or Mark?
Thank you. Thank you
You're welcome.
for doing this.
It's my pleasure.
Bye.
All right, bye. Thank you all so much. We'll see you next time.
Excellent.